Hey everybody, what's up from Roll, Minnesota, your state of skate. Hey, I'm Butch Lehman, and today we're in for another episode of Rolling Reactions. Today's featured skater on Rolling Reactions is none other than Julian Bah, a skater with a tremendous amount of talent and the style to back it up. Anyway, Julian's ridden for a number of different companies, including Razor Skates and Adapt, and I think it would be fair to say that he has adapted his skating to fit whatever time period we're looking at. Anyway, today's sections are going to be a bit of a time capsule as we rewind the clock, taking a look back to the early 2000s through about the mid-2000s. We'll start it off with his video for Razors in Ego, and that one is an absolute classic. From there, we're going to take a look at his section in Hashassins, and then finally, we're going to close out by taking a look at his part with Fiziks frames in the classic video, Masters of Delusion. Man, I miss Fiziks frames. Anyway, speaking of missing things, you're not going to want to miss this one, so let's turn our attention to Julian Bah. Alright, so starting out with Razor Skates, you guys know I love Razor Skates. I've skated Razors for a number of years, and their team was amazing back then. Still is, but check out this gap. It's a really big way to get things started, and they had quite a lineup. I know if you guys have ever watched the Jump Street podcast, there's some interesting behind-the-scenes stories about the Razors house, Brian Aragon taking over the master bedroom, Murda, Julian Bah, all those guys sharing the house. And Julian's getting a little bit of a bath here before he laces this trick. But look at that steezy 540. That's like textbook, and he's doing it both ways. You got to respect that because that's a big gap to be doing that way. Also taking this disaster fish. I guess that's one of the sections we could have talked about was Black Market. There's a clip of him at the beginning of that section where a disaster topsoul on the forum ledges went horribly wrong. That's something you never want to see for anybody in the rollerblading industry. And, you know, unfortunately, when you're out touring, that makes it a lot harder to get all the clips that you need to produce a decent profile. But I got to give respect to Julian. He still made an amazing section despite being injured. So it definitely has the tenacity of a blader, and I think that's something that all of us as skaters can recognize is dealing with hardship, with injury, with fear, with whatever obstacles are in our way. Speaking of obstacles, going front torque on that one. Really interesting ledge spot. It's like a disaster in over the grass and then a gap out. And that was textbook 360 out of True Mizu. Like, that was flawless. This was always one of the most impressive tricks to me, is this massive wall ride. And, you know, I feel like that was made into a poster. Maybe I'm misremembering that. Also, classic spot right here. This spot got completely destroyed by a number of skaters over the years. Like we're shooting a music video. Speaking of which, that reminded me of Frankie Morales and his video projects with music videos when he was Yuck Yuckum. Maybe you guys remember that, his rap name. And he put out an album, I believe, including a track that was used in Barely Dead. I think I have this right, Barely Dead. He and Julian Bah shared a track together and shared a section together. So, little fun fact for you if you didn't know that. Going up and over. Look at this spot. Like, what a cool framing of that spot going through all the trees. Somebody had an artistic mindset when they picked that spot. We could debate it. Is it a Savannah? Is Nalyub Unity? We won't go there. Teach their own, I suppose. Check this out, too. He's going up the rail. What are we going to get out? 540. Little 450 action out. Again, you got to appreciate that. That rail looks really tall, and it's a long hold. One of the things I always thought it was interesting and maybe like, I don't know, signature of Ego, the Razor's video, is all of the different color correction things going on. Like, there was a bunch of red color to Murda's section. We saw that a couple times at the color corrected for green here in Julian Bah's section. And so, I don't know. It's kind of an overused technique sometimes as an editor, but it definitely gave this video some flavor and sort of identified each skater differently based on color. Speaking of which, you guys know I love the Hurricane Topsoul, and Julian Bah threw that one down. All right, our next section is Julian Bah's part in Hashassins, and this is a pretty amazing section as well. Some interesting personal connection here, but back about when this video was released, I had previously had very little interaction with the other rollerbladers in the Minneapolis area. In fact, I had spent most of my time just skating my local skate park. I was younger, didn't have my driver's license yet, And that's when Eye for Eye 2004 came around. Big street competition, hundreds of people showing up. And the night beforehand, there was a big session at the Overpass skate park, one of my favorite skate parks. And there was a video premiere of this video. And so I remember very fondly being able to hang out with hundreds of people, other bladers that I've never met before, and watch a skate video. And so it's left a really large impact on me and a lot of fond memories. And Julian Bah's section was one of the ones that I remember sticking out as just absolutely amazing to my 15, 16-year-old self. Anyway, a couple of tricks to comment on here. That full true Mizu is pretty amazing. And they're going on the back Savannah or the true Savannah, whichever way you want to describe it. Really the perfect trick, perfect rail, doing them both in combo. And pretty technical switch up there for an up ledge in a very unconventional spot. Anyway, I know this video was a bit underrated. Like, there were some other sections that I remember being really good. Walt Austin's section comes to mind. Will Gordon, I believe, had a really nice section. Check this out. This I remember too is Julian just sitting into that 3 topsole and then now doing it the other way with his left foot. And oftentimes editors will take those 2 tricks and put them back to back to accentuate which one was switch. And so I think that's a good editing technique sometimes to bring your viewer's attention to the dexterity of a skater and letting the viewer realize like the technicality that goes into that. Speaking of technicality, Julian's getting the rail transfers here. You can never have too many rail transfers. Another pretty famous spot, very photogenic spot here. I remember this one from the Be Unique video. I think it was freestyle rolling that had some tricks done on that. This one, really long held front torque grind. That's a grind I've never really unlocked. I don't really understand the physics of that, but clearly Julian does. You know, something could be said too of the diversity of skating that Julian Bah demonstrates. I absolutely love this. Little technical grind, really cool looking trick. That one blew me away when I was 15, and it still does to this day. I don't understand the physics of it. But going back to his diversity, we see that he has some gaps like this, the big 540s. He's got some technical switch ups. He's doing spin tricks into grinds. He's doing switch spin tricks into grinds. He's doing one-footed grinds. And so I think that's something that can't be overstated, is having that level of versatility as a skater. By the way, fishing this, absolutely beautiful looking trick. And I love this second angle. I think this one is really what makes it. Just extends it out, absorbs the impact on the drop. Well done, Julian. You know, alley-oop Mizu, that's a trick that I don't think gets done as much as it should. Like, you see a lot of sweaties, and you guys have heard me say this before. Sweaty, most dangerous trick. One of my last videos, I actually took it pretty hard falling on a switch sweaty. But alley-oop Mizu, now that's a great trick. It's safe, reliable, and it's a good-looking one. I don't know how he can jump that high. That should be illegal. I'm jealous. The wall rides too. You know, I don't want to sell Julian Bah short on the wall rides, but he has some of the best wall ride tricks in the history of blading. I'll just throw that out there. That's a pretty cool spot. Those wall rails though, a little bit dangerous. 900. Not a lot of people can say that they've done a 900, and even fewer can say that they've done a 900 in the streets. So much respect to that. This is a spot that I've always wanted to visit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is like out in Philadelphia. Maybe it's capped now. Maybe it's not even there. But I remember watching tons of video clips of those ledges in Underestimated, which was actually one of my first videos. Ledge to ledge. And then this trick, pretty cool. Going the double sole. Maybe there's a more technical term for that. Little switch up. And speaking of the big wall rides, he's getting that 540 wall ride. And I think this is the last trick, the big topsole to gap. Again, he does just about everything. Oh man, I forgot about this big drop rail. It's curvy, it's crazy. No reason for doing something like that. All right, guys, lastly, we're gonna wrap things up with Julian Bah's section in Masters of Delusion, the Fiziks video. And if you guys have never seen this video, I would encourage you to give it a watch. One of the things that I love about this video is there are tons of sections from great skaters here. I think the runtime on the video is about an hour long, and so it's just nonstop action of tons of skating at a really high caliber. And Julian Bah's section starts out with a pretty ridiculous gap and putting his vehicle in danger here, so hopefully this goes well. Otherwise, this is going to be a costly mistake. It kind of is reminiscent to me, and maybe this was intentional, of Mind Game. If you think back to Dustin Latimer when he was skating his car. And so maybe that's the direction that this was going, but I like how it's an interesting take. Rather than doing grinds up and down the side of the vehicle, instead it's a gap. And we're certainly taking our time leading up to that. By the way, Julian's got his rollerblade skates on here back in the TRS days. And that was actually the first type of skate that I skated was TRS. So landing the big gap over the car. Everyone survived that one. And this one too, like, I don't know, man. People are talking about the days of hammers, and I can understand why, because that was ridiculous. Having said that, hammers are still alive and well today if you know what to look for. And I correct myself, because earlier I was talking about doing a 900 in the streets, and we already have 2 of them from Julian Bah. So he's doubled up on the 900s already. And there's the 720. He's just spinning all over the place. I think this was the same spot where he went up the rail in one of the earlier videos. I think it was the Ego one. And that time he's using the downside, so he's done it both. By the way, that clip I remember being viral when that first came out. And pretty unusual way to skate a rail like that. Kind of reminds me of aggressive inline when you could grab on the poles and swing around. Killing the kink ledge. Not a lot of kink ledge skating happening out there. It's a pretty unusual type of obstacle to skate, but Julian Bah put the Unity down. Made it look great. Got like a school bus loading in the background while the skating is happening. Like, I don't know, maybe come back like when school's over or when the buses are out of the way, but for me personally, I would be really uncomfortable skating with an audience like that. Nice. Got another big gap coming here. Look at that 540. Just rolls away from it really clean, and you have to appreciate a well-landed gap. How many tricks will he do? Interesting rail. I think it's Chris Farmer that refers to those types of rails as the heart attack rails. Unlike the kink part is taller than the down part, and so there's like a little drop off. Prior to that, I've never heard them called that before, so I don't know, maybe that's a thing that I just never picked up on when I was younger, but I think that name is appropriate because, one, it kind of looks like it in terms of the heart rate monitor, but also I think that's the experience that I would have if I were doing it, is there'd be a little mini heart murmur at the very least. TTP landing that one really clean. He's just jumping all over the place right here. Use every obstacle. This one's a long hold. And if you guys have skated kink rails before, they're really fun to skate, but when you get going with a certain amount of speed, those flats and downs become really excessively deadly. It gets scary, not gonna lie. That was a pretty hard hit right there. Yikes. A little bit too much blackness there for comfort. But yeah, Fiziks frames, man, I had a pair of those. I know a lot of people were big fans, so shout out to Fiziks frames. Maybe one day they'll make a comeback to blading as well. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this episode of Rolling Reactions featuring Julian Bah. Again, Julian Bah is a tremendously talented skater with the style to back it up and to prove that he's one of the greats. Now, Julian Bah has produced a number of sections. This is just a small taste of the extensive body of work that he's produced over the years. I encourage you to go look at some of the other sections. If you like big tricks, if you like hammers, massive gaps, technical grinds, switch-ups, spinning tricks, really just anything blading, he's one of those guys that knows how to get it done for sure. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. I'm Butch Lehman of Roll, Minnesota, reminding you until next time to stay safe, stay healthy, and get out there and do some rollerblading. And until next time, peace, everybody.